You guys, thank you so much for being here. It is my unique and absolute pleasure to introduce our guest visiting artist and teacher for the day. Dr. Bret Pimentel teaches all reads at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. And I met Bret in 2005, I believe, when he started the DMA in multiple woodwinds at the University of Georgia. Got to hang out for a few years, and we played in a sax quartet together, played in double reed ensemble. And I think we were the only two people who, we were the two woodwind guys, so it was pretty cool. And I probably drove him crazy being late to rehearsals and everything. Such is the way life goes. But Bret's going to be working with Kat today, and with Jamie on clarinet, cool, and with Andy on sax. And so. Everybody welcome Dr. Pimentel. And Andy, you want to go ahead and start off?
Sure. Which would you rather me do? 2, 1, 6?
I'll let Dr. Pimentel call that.
Oh, what do you got? The John Worley Sonata.
Oh, right, you do that.
Dante, 2, Okay. Where'd you like to start? I'm already here. Okay.
thinking, what, 12, 15 minutes a person? A lot of people have to be in jazz band by 1, and there are probably other class commitments as well.
Okay. I stopped wearing a watch because I read somewhere that young people don't wear watches, and I miss it. I'm going to put this here so I can see, I can pace myself. You sound great. Thank you. Very, very nice playing. I don't know this piece, really, but it's lovely. Okay, so you're doing high F sharp, not with the high F sharp key.
I normally do, but this is a school one while mine's in the fret, so there's been times this week where I've been reaching for it and it's not there.
Okay, gotcha. Is this horn giving you a little bit of trouble with the low notes too? Maybe a little leaky? Okay, so we're dealing with an unfamiliar horn that's not yours, not your problem. Okay, that clears up a couple of things. What are you used to playing on? Is it something similar to this? Okay, so the ergonomics are a little bit better on that.
Yeah, this isn't bad, but they're
okay, so here in a few places, and you tell me if this is just a factor of having the unfamiliar instrument. But on some of the palm keynotes, it seemed like finger timing wasn't quite
no,
there.
I think that's usually rare.
Okay.
That's not the one.
Okay. One thing that has really helped me with that is everyone has that problem, right? It's the clarinetists and flutists can be smug about this because they don't have anything this awkward. Well, they have their own awkward things, but they don't have this particular problem. Trying to play keys like with this part of your hand. We have all of these keys here. We try to press, and I'm pressing things over here on the side, and it's a little awkward. It's not. There are definitely advantages to the flute system there and the clarinet system, but that's what we're stuck with on saxophone. Now I can be very precise with my fingertips. It's harder to be precise with this stuff, but I do find that I can mitigate that a little bit if I find good contact points between my fingers and the keys. And it depends a little bit on your keys, where they are, and a little bit on your fingers, what size and shape they are. But I've kind of evolved to this thing where I use, for the D key, I'm using this sort of knuckle or whatever you call that right there. And then this for the D sharp key right on the joint. And then this for the F key. You're nodding like this is what you do too. Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure, it's hard to tell by looking. Sometimes people are trying to press those keys using in-between spots. And that's a recipe for finger mistiming, I think, where we're not used to trying to time those spots very well. We're pretty good with this, but even these knuckles we can be a little bit more precise with them rather than trying to hit kind of in the middle of the finger. So depending on your horn, depending on your fingers, just finding good contact points can be a lot of the journey to getting those nice and smooth. The rest of it is just practice. Finding those specific intervals and practicing them nice and slow and controlled. Whatever they are. And really finding every possible combination that you need to be ready for. Tell me about the fingering that you're using here for C sharp. Okay, octave key? Yes. Okay. It sounds a little strange to me.
It may.
Yeah. You ever add the right hand? Check on this horn and check on your own horn and see how the pitch is on those with a tuner. But I find that when I use that fingering, this is in the Rousseau beginning method. He provides that fingering and teaches beginners to use it. I think it works really well because it mitigates some of the problems of crossing the break. This happens on all of these instruments, right? We have places where you go from a lot of fingers down to not so many fingers down, or vice versa, and the tone changes, and the pitch characteristics change, and the resistance changes. So we have these spots where these notes kind of blare out, right? We have to find ways around this, and sometimes all you can do is try to blow a little better, try to fix it with air or fix it with embouchure or something. That can help a little bit, but often what that does is it means that when I get to that note, I'm like backing off and being timid about it. So if we can find a fingering solution. Now here we have a spot where he's going from no fingers down to a bunch of fingers down, and then he's going to continue on upward. Try it with this long C-sharp fingering. Can you go back to the fingering that you were using before? What do you think? Hear a difference on that first note? To me, this longer fingering is a little bit nicer. It also means less fingers to move. It makes that crossing of the break a little bit less disruptive to the line. And when you played it before, I don't know if it was just a fluke or something. It seemed like that kind of a waver to the pitch. I think this one's going to be a little less stable pitch-wise. This one will stabilize it a little bit more. So you can experiment with it if the pitch is outside of acceptable limits, then you may have to go to plan B. But that's one to experiment with. Now I'm hearing when you cross the break coming downward, when that happens on saxophone and on most of these instruments, we're going from more resistance to less resistance. So something like this. Those first two notes are above the break. The second two notes are below the break. And I can feel the saxophone respond differently on those notes. I can feel that those notes kind of want to blare out a little bit. They kind of want to do this. So sometimes I think we correct for that. Maybe we overcompensate for that by backing off on the air. Then those notes become a little less responsive and a little flat because we aren't giving them as much air as they need. So I think the solution goes the other way around. Rather than backing off the air on those notes, I think we increase the air on the other notes. So if we use more air in general. I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I drive this wimpy little car. It's a Toyota Corolla. It's very fuel efficient, but it's not sporty, it's not fancy, it's not powerful. And so when the road is a little bit up and down, I really feel it on those upward spots. The car kind of doesn't want to do it. If I had a more powerful car, it would be no problem. Right? Even if I was going kind of slow, I don't have to be going at top speed. If I had that more powerful engine, I'd be able to go a little bit more smoothly. And the saxophone or the clarinet or the flute kind of want to do this too. There are spots that are a little bit more resistant. So I think we need to put a more powerful engine behind it. So I heard here, for example, this note sagged a little bit, pitch-wise and tone-wise. It wasn't quite as vibrant as the notes around it. And there were a few other spots where you just dip below that break. I heard that phenomenon again. So as you come just below the break there, those are the most dangerous notes, like the C, B, A, right in that range. We have to really buoy those up, really make sure that they stay lifted, that they stay supported. You can try that, maybe, I don't know, come into this note. time. It's always sharp. Every horn I've ever played. Do you have any tricks for it? Yeah.
That really adds so much timbre, but,
Yeah, let's hear it. Now do it without the low beat. You know what, honestly, from right here, I cannot hear a difference in timbre between those two notes. I can hear the pitch difference. But I know it feels a little stuffier, and maybe like from right here, you go, okay, there's something I don't like about the way that sounds, but I think that your audience will appreciate that low beat. At this point, I use it almost all the time. Anytime I'm going to sustain that note, I use it a lot on the E and the E flat as well. And you can even use it on that long C sharp fingering. I think we get used to this as saxophone players, and there are issues with this on your instruments too, where there are notes that are just out of tune, and we get so used to hearing them out of tune that they don't bother us anymore. But then you play with somebody else who plays a different instrument, and they go, "That's why it's so sharp on that note." So we have to be really sensitive to that. Make sure we don't fall into that trap of hearing bad pitch and being okay with it. And that D is such a problem. Every time a saxophone player plays that D in the staff, just cringe to hear it because it's so sharp. So I think that low B key is a great solution and one worth using on a regular basis. Record yourself using it. I think that you'll hear it and go, oh, yeah, it sounds totally fine, except it's in tune now. Sound great on this. Am I out of time?
Another kind of bullet point, little bullet point.
Okay. I got to rambling there for a while. Is there a spot that you would like to look at, or a question, or anything that I can be of assistance with?
really nothing comes to mind.
Okay. Right. Now this note, this very last note, it goes way up high, plays that last note, and you cut it a little short because you were afraid of what was about to happen to it, right?
And I started getting split tone.
Yeah, and it started splitting in which direction?
Down.
Splitting downward. Yeah. So I was trying to get this high note to come out, but the low note was kind of trying to make its way in, and so he hit the eject button. Forget it, we're going to cut it short, we're done. Which I think is a wise move in performance to do that. So what can you do to shore up that note, make sure that it stays up where it belongs? Okay. Okay, so support maybe is what we're heading towards. Yeah, I think voicing comes into this as well. If your voicing is a little on the low side, like your air is a little too warm, that's going to make it tend towards splitting downward. So you can make sure the air is nice and cool on that note as well. I think that'll help keep it up there. So it's going to be a little bit of a fussy one anyway. What fingering are you using here? Just that?
Ring and
Side C for pitch? Can you give it a nice graceful ending?
now, maybe not.
what year are you in school? Great. So what have you got? This whole thing or portion of it? Great. Sarah. Hovering over you. Okay. How long have you been working on this? Yeah, so this is still a work in progress. Huh? Okay, you got a great start on this. I wish I had some first year students who are playing this well. We'll talk later. I'll see if I can steal you. Okay. So, here are some of the little things I'm hearing. It's well on its way. There's some little things that I think are related to each other. So I'm hearing sometimes the notes don't quite come out, right? Or they are a little delayed coming out. Some of the high notes feel like they are a little bit like you're afraid of them. Afraid something bad will happen when you play it, and so you're being a little timid about how you play them. And it seems like there's some spots where your fingers get tied up a little bit in knots. And part of it is that it's new, right? You're still learning that. But I think that a lot of these things are related to each other, and I think a lot of it has to do with breath support. You've heard this before plenty of times. So what is breath support?
Just having enough air to back your nose and breathing deep from the bottom.
Okay, that's the kind of answers that I hear a lot when I ask people what breath support is. They say things like that. It's a little bit vague, right? yourself up for good breath support. But then breath support is something that happens while you're blowing out. So when you know where your diaphragm is?
Yeah.
That's right. If you can feel where the bottom of your rib cage is, diaphragm is kind of up there. It almost forms like a little floor sort of to your rib cage. Okay? And so sometimes we hear people talk about, when you blow from the diaphragm. But you can't really do that. The diaphragm is just for breathing in. It's this muscle that's shaped kind of like this. When you flex it, it pulls downward, and that makes space and air comes rushing in. When you breathe out, that's just the diaphragm relaxing, just going back to its unflexed position. And that's not good enough for clarinet playing or flute or saxophone playing, right? We need it to be more controlled than that. We need it to be an active process instead of just a passive process where the muscle is just relaxing. Especially some other muscles involved. So we'll use these abdominal muscles here and the obliques over here and the muscles in your lower back, and they form this kind of belt of muscles that goes all the way around here. So you have all of that to work with that you can use to squeeze on your innards, basically. That pushes on the diaphragm, the lungs, and everything, and gives you a more active way to breathe out. So here's the best way that I know to set this up. Make sure you're already in a good clarinet playing posture. And then everybody can do this with us. I want to take a nice deep breath, like I'm breathing down into my toes, kind of. I can't really do that, but it kind of feels that way. And as I breathe in, I'm going to pay attention to how these muscles feel all the way around. And I want to get to the point that those muscles kind of start to stretch out a little bit to make room for all of that air. Okay, give it a try. Breathe in a little more, so you feel those muscles really stretch. Okay, let it go. Okay, so right at that moment where I am really full of air, the breath support is almost automatic because those muscles are already sort of extended. And when I start to breathe out, they're already kind of pushing on the air. But we're only going to push so far. Just back to the normal position. And then I've still got air, and it's just coming out passively because the diaphragm is relaxing. So if I continue to squeeze with those muscles, so I want to maintain that same sensation, that sort of stretched, extended feeling that I felt in those muscles. I want to extend that all the way to the very end of the exhalation. So, big breath, feel the stretch. And then as I blow out, I want to keep that sensation that these muscles are really engaged. Until that very last little bit of air comes out. So where do you work the hardest at that? At what point in the process are you using those muscles the most? Like, does it feel like they work harder, like towards the beginning of the breath or the end of the breath?
They stretch more at the inhalation, but they work the most at the very end of the exhalation.
Yeah, I agree. That's when those muscles have to kind of squeeze the most. If you think of like a balloon, you blow up a balloon and then you just let the air come out. It comes out passively. Or if you think of squeezing on the balloon to make sure that the air keeps coming out at a fast speed, so I'm squeezing on it or I'm sitting on it or something to squeeze the air out. Then right at that last moment when the balloon is the smallest, that's really crucial to get enough power on it to make sure that the air keeps coming out fast. Okay, so we have to do this when we play the clarinet like 100% of the time, all the time, every day. Right? Always well supported on every single note. Soft, loud, high, low, doesn't matter, they all have to be supported. Okay? Now some of them you will support kind of automatically because they are more resistant. We were talking about this with Andy a little bit, like some of these notes, like the B and the C here in the middle of the staff. You have lots of holes closed on the clarinet, so those are pretty resistant notes. So you kind of have to give them enough support that they will even come out at all. But some of the other notes where I have more open holes, those are not so resistant. And so if we are not careful, we can get a little bit lazy about those notes. I don't have to use as much breath support, it'll still come out. You supported, then it takes on a whole different character. Sounds like a whole different instrument. It responds much better, more immediately. Okay, so if I just ask you to do that, before you start here, just take a big full breath until you feel that expansion, and then maintain that sensation all the way through the first phrase. I don't know if it's D-set, while you like to start with the first phrases. Okay, go for it. Okay, so that first note, you kind of sneaked into it. You get it to respond a little bit more crisply. Not accent, not aggressive, just so did you hear it sneak in again? What do you have to do differently? Okay, more breath support. Yeah, powerful breath support so that it will start vibrating right away, and then make sure that the tongue is very light. So you're just going to release. The breath support is already there, the tongue is on the reed, and all the tongue has to do is this. Just as to let go, and that reed will start vibrating because the breath support is already in place. Yeah, you're getting used to it. Take a second. Keep supporting. Sorry, keep going. Okay, good. I'm liking what you're hearing in your sound. When you got to this note, you were kind of giving up on the breath support. You could support it all the way through that note. Now, if you need the breath there, you can still take it. But make sure that you don't take it until you have finished supporting that note. Don't already go into I'm taking a breath now mode while you're still playing the note. So does it feel different to play that way? You feel like you're more involved? Yeah. An oboe teacher that Dr. Owens and I know used to tell me that playing the oboe, I think this applies to clarinet as well. He used to say that playing the oboe is an athletic activity. And it really is. We're using those core muscles, right? Those muscles that you use all the time. Certainly if you're doing something athletic, but really just all day long, you use those powerful endurance muscles for just about everything that you do. And we're going to use them like crazy when we're playing music. Okay, a couple of other little things here. I'm about to run out of time. Try and prioritize. Let's talk about some of these technical items that happen towards the end. Do you have a strategy for those? So right now you're mostly getting them, but they feel a little out of control. Do you have a way to make those feel solid and comfortable?
Just like practicing them slower and then like increasing tempos I go, and then eventually like taking it.
Okay. Okay. And then that's what you've been doing so far?
I've been trying.
Uh-huh.
It's taking a while.
Yeah, it takes a while and it's kind of boring and it's kind of frustrating, right? Yeah. So one thing that I like to do, I feel like I learn it better if my brain can approach it kind of from multiple angles. So sometimes what I'll do is play around with the rhythms a little bit. Ever do this? Do uneven rhythms in your practice? Works great for technical passages. Like, yeah, this is just chromatic scale, right? But it's still a lot of fingers to coordinate. So you can try an uneven pattern like this where you do, say, long, short. Right. So it still got away from you just a little bit in one spot. So make the longer ones longer. That gives you a second to think before you play the next few notes. the sky's the limit on how many combinations you can come up with. But you can do, say, groups of 3 and do long, short, short. So something like this. That works really well. Try that. Yeah, slow down. That's right. You're getting ahead of us and doing groups of 4. Doing long, short, short, short. That's okay. That's a good one to do too. But if you can do, for example, if we stick with groups of 3, you do long, short, short. Then you do short, long, short. And you do short, short, long. Okay. Then you practice it in a bunch of different rhythms, kind of putting emphasis on different notes within it. So every note has gotten some individual attention throughout this process. And we're racing through it in the practice room. You take your time and do it a bunch of times through each way. That makes you really learn each note of it, and kind of gives your brain, I think, a few different ways to look at it and understand it. And I tend to learn those technical passages a lot faster and a lot more securely if I do it that way. So you can try that, see if that works. Am I out of time? Yeah, I think so too. Do you know the story of the Pied Piper?
Yeah, he wrote it because it was this creepy man playing the flute down the street, apparently. And he wrote it because children were getting taken from their homes and put in the slave trade. And he was just, it was a small town in Germany, and like they were having big problems, and children were just getting put in the slave trade, or they had to go to work. And
Okay, that's a much darker version of the story than I we know you use that. But yeah, but basically in a nutshell, the Pied Piper plays his instrument, his pipe, and gets all of the rats out of town. The rats follow him out of town, and then the children, maybe, right? But, okay, and so this movement is entitled The Spell. Okay, so this is supposed to be kind of magical. Somehow he's working his or her, I guess, working his or her magic with the instrument. And I felt like I was missing the mystery a little bit because you have such a nice, big, full sound, and I felt like you were kind of hitting us over the head with this.
I was trying to be really quiet too.
You were?
Yes.
I think you can be softer than that. Now, will you play right from the beginning and give us like a true piano? Oh yeah, that's much softer than you played earlier. Okay. So if your teacher tells you this isn't okay, then you have to listen to him. But I think that you can explore the mysterious, magical aspects of this, even if it means that you sometimes make your tone just a little bit hollow, something like that. Maybe not quite as powerful of a sound as you might use in some other situations. But I think there are times where you use that more powerful, rich, complex sound, and times where you use a little softer, purer, maybe more hollow, maybe even what we would think of sometimes as being a little weaker sound. I think that you can use that here, and you can explore all of those colors in this. Okay, we better go to the piccolo.
Okay.
So that would be my biggest comment. I think it was just, there was so much sound. I wish I could play with that much flute sound, but it felt like too much for the situation. All right, March to the River. instant you were done, what were you apologizing for? What do you think was the thing that went so terribly wrong?
Because at the end, my officer wasn't high enough, and so I could get like the last few notes out.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, great job. So this is, compared to the first one, which is so mysterious, yeah, this is not mysterious at all. In fact, to me, this sounds maybe a little funny. Like there's a little bit of humor to this. Yeah. So what do we do musically to bring out humor in a piece?
Look happy when you're playing.
Okay. How will I know it's funny when I listen to the CD?
Make it bouncier and more marcato style.
Bouncier and more marcato. Okay, here's what I like about what you just said, is you're talking about making things a little bit more extreme. So it's already bouncy, we're gonna make it bouncier. It's already marcato, we're gonna make it more marcato. Yeah, I think exaggeration is what really brings out humor in a piece. So what are some elements here that can be exaggerated for humorous effect?
Well, I know that when you go in this like the creepy part, and then you have all these like clothespins.
Yeah, hair pins.
And yeah, it's just you could really exaggerate that, and this part's always so hard for you to be quiet at. And then it just leads up into this huge 16th note, like and I think you could be really dramatic before that because it'd make it happier.
Okay, yeah, I think you're on the right track there. So she's talking about some dynamic changes which can be exaggerated, make the soft parts softer, loud parts louder. That exaggerates those. You're talking about this part too. There's some accents in there. So we're just playing a string of 16th notes and some of them are accented. I think if you really bring those out, I think that kind of exaggerates them. It's also not staccato here. That's something I think you can exaggerate as well, make them a little bit extra clipped, a little extra short. That brings out the humorous elements of it. Anything else? Anything else that could be exaggerated here?
Style.
Okay. What kind of things go into style?
Like staccato, the accents.
Yeah, articulation is a big part of style. You have a little bit of ornamentation here too. Some of it's kind of written like this, like that can be a little ornament since it's written out as a little triplet. And you have some trills. I think you can really milk those moments. And you did this a little bit where you accent it and the trill maybe starts a little slower and then speeds up a little bit. I think that's something that you can exaggerate as well, make it almost a little cartoony, a little silly. I think that would really kind of take this to the next level, make this, it's already very engaging, but I think it can be even more so. You try it right from the beginning and just take it a little bit over the top, just exaggerate everything. Okay. I'm going to get out of line of fire.
I know it's so loud. I'm sorry. It rings and it's just, I was kept hearing it.
Okay, let's take just that much. Can you bring out the accents even more? Good. Do you have staccato markings there? Can you make them even staccato-er? That didn't do that, plus the exaggerated accents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. So I think you can get out of your shell a little bit on this and really find everything that can be exaggerated and go for it. Your teacher will let you know if you have gone too far, but I don't think you're in danger of that yet. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, does anybody have any last minute